Hey, Big Skin here. Hope you're having a great afternoon. And I tell you what, we've got another exciting episode of the PodShack presents Casual Conversations with Big Skinny. And today we're going to do our second part of our interview with Miss Dianne Steinberg Lewis. Now, once again, everybody knows her from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. We're going to talk about that, as well as the difference between Tennessee and Texas barbecue and everything in between. It's all coming your way on the PodShack presents Casual Conversations with Big Skinny. So tell us a little bit about the role of Lucy in Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Well, do I need to back up and tell you what happened after I went over there for the audition? Okay, so I had to learn about the part. So they told me, well, she's kind of sexy and all this other stuff, Okay, so I went down to Fredericks of Hollywood. That was the place where you got all the risque outfits and everything else. And I didn't see anything down there except some fishnets, but I went next door to Capizio, and this was right before disco was about to break. And they said, "You don't want to get that. Here, don't get the regular old leotard. Just get this. The whole back is out. It's like, you're going to tie it up here and the back is out all the way down." And they said, okay, put the fishnets on. Okay, now take this shawl and just wrap it out and have your leg hanging out. So I said, am I supposed to wear this on the set? He said, wear it on the set and just go on in there. He said, this is big in New York. Nobody's on to it yet. So I walked out there, and then that's see, I'm making myself feel good today. Thanks for calling and putting me So I walked out there and I said, girl, you just put that head up and keep on walking. And so all the guys from the set makers and everything came out, and I went, well, now that's a little confirmation. So by the time I got inside, they had a guy on the keyboard. Now I play piano because, I hired Kenny to be in my band. Is everybody going to see Kenny's interview with you before they see mine?
It just depends how you guys want us to put it out. Okay.
Well, you better put his on first, or they won't even know who I'm talking about. So I think he's already described this. But I heard Kenny in my band a long time ago, and I play piano. So when I went in and they had a guy accompanying, he started playing it, and he wasn't really playing it. I'm a teacher too, so I get kind of bossy, and I want to conduct. So I was saying, okay, come on, let's pick it up. 1, 2, 3. And I went, nope, come on. And I had already choreographed my whole part before I got in there when Kenny and I were going over lyrics out in the streets below the Hollywood sign, so I could at least go in there and remember my, all the lyrics to the tune. So when Robert Stigwood saw the dailies of everything, and Carly Simon was up for the part, Thelma Hopkins, Cleopatra Jones, what's her name? Oh my God, there were a ton of people who auditioned.
Donna Summer.
Donna Summers was up for it, but then when he saw my part yelling at the keyboard player, and I mean we had a good time. I wasn't mean or anything. But I just took authority because I knew how the tune was supposed to go. So he said, go back and show me the girl who is yelling at the keyboard player. So he liked me because
you had some attitude.
I had the attitude, darling. So anyway, and then they called, and because my mother was instrumental in opening doors for me, this was certainly something that I wanted to do all by myself. I don't know, I've gone over here, and so I didn't tell her, I didn't tell her until I knew that I had it right in my hand. And on my Universal Child album that was cut with ABC Records, there was a lady who had helped me with my wardrobe and putting my look and everything together. And so she was a friend of Donna Summers. And she told me, she says, "Oh, well, you're not going to get the part." Because I said, "Well, why aren't I going to get the part?" She went, "Because Donna's trying out for it, so you won't get the part." So I went, "Oh, okay." So my Southern Moxy kind of locked in there a little bit, and I said, "Okay, I'll talk to you later." And so I called my manager and I said, "Okay, I'm in. Let's do it." So that's when I went down to Fredericks and Capizio and got all that and went in and took over. And just get determined and go for what you want. And
Yeah.
if you don't get it, then you don't get it. But somebody will remember you for something.
And one thing about it, you can't let people dictate to you what you can or cannot do, especially when it comes to your career.
Tell me about it. You can say that again, because if you listen to that, you won't do anything.
No.
You got to. And it's frightening to think big sometime. Uh, Look, I mean, the other day I was supposed to call somebody because now they want to do something with a documentary about my mom because she was in radio. And I thought, should I call somebody? I said, I don't know if they're going to take, they kind of been out of it for a while. I mean, I'm still doing music, and I have accompanied, and I went back to teaching after I did Sergeant Pepper because I decided I wanted to start the family now, and I thought, I'm a teacher. I teach when I perform, and I perform when I teach. So if you got the right heart, that is going to communicate with people, and you use it as a tool when you're trying to get something across. I mean, people have to listen to you when you're teaching. Have you ever fell asleep on a teacher at school?
Oh yeah. I had a couple.
Yeah, well, that didn't go in my class.
Well, I'm not saying it went in his class either, but I'm going to tell you, this guy had such a monotone voice. You would just be so bored. You would fall asleep because it's hard to keep your eyes open. It
Yeah,
was
but
tough.
I was in music too.
Yeah.
So,
A little more interesting.
yeah, yeah. So, and then later on, I'm thinking, well, I'll just sub. And when we moved out here to San Luis Obispo, I thought I'll just call up and I'll sub for everybody. And this is one way of being kind of like, I go on with a normal everyday life, and nobody's bugging me or asking me about movies and all that stuff. I got to just be nice and fat and keep on going.
So let me go back to your teaching career. Now,
Yeah.
when you were growing up, was there a teacher that you admired that maybe you looked at and said, "Hey, I want to do stuff similar to that. I want to be similar to that kind of teacher." That was kind of a role model for you.
Wow. A teacher I wanted to be like. Well, you got to understand, when I was coming up, I was going to a Catholic school. So, no, I don't know any nuns that were jumping on stage.
Well,
Although, when they
but,
got up there in front of the class,
well, maybe teaching style, maybe not so much the person, but just the teaching style. That's what I'm talking about. Being inspired by their teaching style. I mean, you had to get that inspiration to be a teacher from someone somewhere.
I was around my Aunt Gladys. She was a teacher. We got a lot of teachers in our family. And uh, uh, and my mother was on radio, and just like what you're doing, you don't just come on here and just talk. You inform. You don't just sell product. You have to. You got to do sales. You entertain, but you have to inform and educate and lift people up and
Mhm.
give them hope that they can be anything they want to be.
Yeah.
And
Even
and
if even if deep down inside you look at them and you're thinking you're as dumb as a rock, you're not going anywhere.
well, you can say, you know what? Let's find out what your best path is. I mean, I have heard teachers who, when my daughter was going to grade school, and I heard a music teacher. This is when I first got out here in about 2006, and I heard a music teacher say to a young boy, "Chad, you're never going to be a singer. So don't even think about it. And I was like beside myself because I remember when I was teaching in Woodland Hills, it was Louisville High School, right at Mulholland, where it becomes Calabasas, where the Kardashians live, way out there. So that school had a lot of, it was an all girls academy. And there was one girl in my class, and she just wanted to be in that class so much. See, I knew how to get the girls. I'd say, you know, uh, if you've never sung before, just come. And whatever movie was out at the time, it was Beauty and the Beast, and the Little Mermaid song and all of that. Look at that, da, 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 all of that. So I'd say, come in, we're just going to play. And I'd have all these girls showing up in a choir room because they just wanted to sing that Little Mermaid song, and so then that's how I got them to join the class. So one girl, she was so shy, almost like what they call an elective mute. I mean, she said she would speak, but she was so shy. And so, but she didn't want to be in any other class. And so I said to her, Anne, I gotta have some kind of test. So this is what I want you to do. I know you love these songs. This is what I want you to do for me if you're afraid of singing out. And because I know you have it in here, I want you to move your mouth. I mean, you know how many people on TikTok are being followed just because they know how to lip sync the heck out of a tune?
So what you basically said is I need you to Milli Vanilli it.
Yeah. How about it? They got they got a Grammy, didn't they? So I said, just sing along with what everybody's doing. And I used to do a thing where I'd mix the voices. Like if you put somebody who sings a little sharp next to somebody who sings maybe a little flat, and you mix it a certain way where you get the nice blend. So you got the best people bringing out the best in the person next to them, Yep. And sometimes the person who sings a little sharp brings up the person who's singing a little flat. So I put her in there and I just said, just try, because I have to grade you on something and I love you being here. So she came in after doing that performance with the group. And then for the individual thing, I said, just try, I don't care if it's la, la, whatever. And she did that for me. And I graded her, not on her performance, even though it was a performance group, but I graded her and I knew it was there. And after all these years, and this was like in the 90s, 2 years ago, I found her again on Facebook. And you know what she was doing? Singing.
Probably winning a Grammy.
No, hey, they're out there somewhere, because I did have some kids who graduated and went on Broadway and got Tonys and stuff. But this one, I saw her at a senior housing, going with an accompanist, and she was singing.
And that was all because you inspired her.
Singing, huh?
That's because you inspired her.
Well, I might have inspired her, but I think I didn't fail her. And I mean fail her by not being there for her and how she needed to have me be there for her.
Yeah.
So.
And you didn't push her. You didn't push her.
I pushed her in another way.
Yeah.
Because some people you have to take in steps, you give them 2 steps and then they, so I said, if you want to be in the class, this is what you have to do. And she fulfilled that. And then step by step, and then she started singing a little bit. But you know what? Nobody ever said, Mrs. Lewis, she's not singing. Nobody ever came and said that. So she must have been singing in there just a little bit. Yeah. So something was much louder and brighter than having to sing with her voice the way that maybe some of the others were. Because I had one of the girls from Issa Pointer, one of the Pointer Sisters' daughter was in the class, and I mean, then I taught at another school where I had John Travolta's kids, and the kid that was in Liar Liar.
Yeah.
His real name was Justin Semponia. And we've been in touch through a friend who stayed, but all the kids were just like, "Oh, Justin, Justin," and sometimes when you're a kid growing up getting that much attention, it's a wonderful thing, but it can be kind of bad for you. So I had to, and I'm sure Justin won't mind me saying this, but he was kind of sliding on some things, and I said, "Okay, come on now, guy." I said, when you start growing up, things change. You guys get bigger, and they're not the little cutesy anymore. And so don't come in here and don't do the homework, because I had a movie too, and we're all in this together. So let's do the homework, okay? So and he did fine after that. You have to let people know that it's okay for them to just be themselves, because sometimes you just have to put it on too long,
I think it's really interesting that you stated that sometimes you got to push people a different direction. And
Yep.
I say that because I worked for my dad right out of high school. My dad was a commercial roofer.
Yeah.
He had a hot topping business. Now, I don't know if you've ever been around hot tar, but it's a really messy and a hot job. And so that's what my dad did. My dad retired as a roofer. It was not anything I really wanted a part of, but circumstances out of high school, I worked for my dad for about 10 years out of high school. And it took, I would say it didn't take me long, but it took me 10 years to figure out I didn't want to do that. But my dad had a way of getting the most out of me. And his way was to aggravate the crap out of me until it would make me angry. And then because he would tell me, he said, "I like watching you mad because you remind me of your mother." And I'm thinking that's the way he would push me to make me do what he needed me to do.
Well,
and taught me the value of work.
You know that thing, different strokes for different folks. You just have to just watch, and you have to listen to people. You just can't talk all over. You have to listen to them so you can discover how to reach them. And I'll tell you, all somebody had to do was get me mad. I wasn't even going to go to that audition for Sergeant Pepper till that girl said, "You ain't going to get it." So it's like, hell, you say, I'm not going to get it. Well, I'm heading down there tomorrow. That was my attitude. And I hate that I have to be pushed to get PO'd about something to do something. That ain't good either sometime.
But the one thing I did learn from my dad and all that, and my dad's still alive, 85 years old, one of the hardest working men I will ever meet in my life. He worked from sun up till sundown.
That's why he's made it to 85,
Yeah. My philosophy is, and I worked for him, and like I said, I loved working with him as far as, the communication and the relationship we had. The work was hard, and I didn't mind the hard work, but he taught me the value of working hard. He taught me a lot of things that I wouldn't have learned had he not pushed me and had he not been there to show me how it was done. So I think there's probably a lot of kids that can look back and say, "Hey, had Miss Dianne not been there, Miss Steinberg Lewis hadn't been there, we probably wouldn't be where we're at right now." So I'm sure there's a lot of people that look up to you in that way.
Yeah, you know what? It's really funny. I mean, I've had people call me about Sergeant Pepper, and I'll say this: when I did start working out here at San Luis High School, a kid came in. I'm getting ready to start accompanying for one of the directors, and he comes in and he goes, "Weren't you in that movie?" And I turned around and I said, "Shh, be quiet." Not because I was ashamed of it, but I needed them to hear what I had to say and do, and be in a position in the proper connection with the director. I didn't need them looking at me and being distracted. We could talk about it afterwards. And then afterwards, we got involved, and so they gave more credence to when I tried to tell them something, or equally as much.
A person is more. And that's what I tried to express in the opening of my show is you're more than just the parts you played or the songs you sang. You're more than that as a person, and everybody needs to know the person that you are.
And I'll say, for any of those performers who are out there, there are a lot of people that wrote songs or were in bands or in movies, and then they didn't do anything after that, and they felt like they're like out of it or whatever. You won't feel any of those things if you get busy trying to figure out how you can be of service with the things that you do know how to do and share those right
Yep.
there where you are.
That's good
I
stuff.
mean, people want to hear what you have to say and how you made it and what was your attitude going in and how to survive. Everybody's scared. You're scared. I get a little nervous sometimes, but then you do the self-talk. You went, come on now, you're going out there on that stage. You've been here before. You can go ahead and do that. Hey, this is yours. I mean, you gotta lift yourself up too, and then you have to dare and have the audacity to dream what you want to dream, and luckily have somebody who can tell you, yeah, look, you got to have somebody be honest with you. I want somebody to tell me if I got lipstick on my teeth. In fact, I was looking here today. No, but you have to have somebody to tell you when you got that spinach in there and whatever, and because you want to be the best you can be. And then if you do come off and you don't come off too well, then there's a next time if you want it.
Yeah, and that's one good thing about me is my someone that is going to tell me straight is my wife. She's not going to hold any punches back. She's going to let me know when I fail and when I succeed. In fact, every night when I cook dinner, when I cook dinner, I'm not saying I cook dinner every night because that would be a lie. She cooks occasionally, but
Well, I guess you and Kenny are cooking. Can I borrow your wife so she can come over here and tell Kenny if you?
so I'll always ask her. I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was it? Because I want to know how I can improve. What can I make better? And sometimes it's a 2, sometimes it's a 10. And she'll tell you, that she's eaten some of the best barbecue in her life that I prepared. We've got all these barbecue places around here, but some of the best barbecue she's had has been what I've cooked her. So that's a big compliment. But it's not always. It's not always good.
I'm not going to say it on the air here, but I'll tell you the real good places to go in Memphis. I'll tell you the ones to stay away from too. I love you, Memphis, but I got to be honest about it.
Got to be honest.
So, listen, I don't care how good it is, but if you give me a chicken wing that's that big and charge me more than 50 cents, it better be spectacular.
Better be the best chicken wing I've ever had. Go plate it.
No, it's still too little. It's got to be
Chicken Little.
Yeah, it's gotta be big in the taste buds. But anyway, see, I'm sliding down a hill of being undignified right now. So
that's okay. It's okay. That's okay. You're from the South. You're allowed.
Okay,
it's expected.
Well, you know what? Listen, I've grown up. I've known BB King since I was a little girl. Just God, I mean, I never met Elvis, but he opened up for my dad. And I don't know how much Kenny told you, but we've just been a Willie Mitchell, Booker T and EMGs, Steve Cropper, Johnny Burnett's son. I'm sitting up here trying to figure out what Johnny Burnett's name is. But it's like I've been around so many iconic people. Even before, especially from Beale Street, even the jug bands with Gus Cannon, who wrote, "Come right in, sit right down, baby, let your hair hang." Okay, for Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah.
And he was a guy just across the tracks, and my dad pulled him in one day and said, "Come in here. I want to tell you, this is Gus Cannon." And he had a jug band, and we got put in our place to respect our elders, even though they was doing the grass now. And the most wonderful thing was when Clapton and everybody started doing the blues. And so now those people who didn't make much money, like BB, who then opened up BB King's and went all over the world, with his clubs and Lucille's and everything else. It was good to see them finally get their recognition, and
Yep.
so and there's so many people I don't know if you knew who Hoss Allen was down in Nashville, Tennessee, but I mean all these guys, from Memphis to Nashville. I mean, if it wasn't for those DJs, a lot of these records never would have gotten played.
Yeah, and guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan would not ever come into an existence because those guys that you're talking about was his influence.
Ain't he the bluesiest thing you ever heard in your life? My God, I
Him
just
and his
love
him and his brother both. Him and his
I
brother
know.
Jimmy. Some of
Yeah,
the
we sat with Jimmy at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a few years back when Steve Miller got there. We sat with the guys from Chicago too. It's just,
another big band from my childhood.
oh man, yeah, we could talk forever. Have I
I'm a
gone over
I'm
my
a 70s
30 minutes?
and 80s baby. That's my musical wheelhouse, the 70s and the 80s.
Well, that's right up my alley.
Yeah, that's where
That's
that's the stuff I grew up. And then, like I said, I got into radio. It was mostly country radio when I was doing it, but uh, when I first started, it was like I worked for this station, and we had to play some of that old country that was like really depressing. And you spend about 3 hours spinning that stuff, and you get off work, you're like super depressed, man. It's like
well,
pretty sad.
well, when Dewey Phillips was down there in Memphis listening to what they were doing on WDIA, and he was listening to all that music hanging down on Beale Street. It wasn't just black folks on Beale Street. The Pinch District was right around the corner where the Irish folks would come, and they had a belt, and they'd pull that belt to make another notch in the belt because they were coming from they were starving. By the time they got to Memphis, and here was Beale Street, and the Pinch District was like, I guess, like 2 blocks, and then around the corner or something. And then you had like Lansky Brothers down there on Beale Street. I mean, my first Chinese food was down there on Beale Street. My grandfather, his mother and his grandmother lived above Pong's Laundry, so you had the Chinese down there, and then you had the New Daisy and the Old Daisy, then the New Daisy Theater and W.C. Handy. And then my grandfather was Milton Gus Steinberg, believe it or not, was playing in Pee Wee's Saloon. That's why I was wondering what place did you go into. But went into Pee Wee's Saloon, and I'm reminded by Kenny that this is a 30-minute show, so I've
That's
got
okay. That's okay. I've been having fun. We can make an exception.
okay.
We'll do it in 2 parts. So that's great.
Okay, well, I'll be mindful because I have a tendency to do this. I might have laryngitis tomorrow, but I'm gonna wear this out. Okay, so okay, so my grandfather was seen in Pee Wee's Saloon. Now let me tell you about Pee Wee's Saloon. That Pee Wee was Italian, and he was on a train and jumped off the train to clean up, and kind of like a hobo in the Mississippi River. Imagine you're going to go and clean yourself up in the Mississippi River, the big muddy. So, and
Not a
so,
good idea.
yeah, so the black guy down there said, come on up here, and he had an accent, and they didn't care about accents, come on up there. Although other people might have not like Pee Wee because he had an Italian accent down there, but they took him up on Beale Street, and he got and learned how to, gamble a little bit, and got himself a new suit. Then he gambled a little bit and got himself like a fruit stand. Then he gambled and parlayed that, and got a grocery store, and brought the family from Italy, and then he made himself Pee Wee's Saloon. And that's where all the musicians used to come. They'd bring their instrument because everybody was trying to get work. And if they needed somebody to play a sax, or if they needed somebody to play a guitar or whatever, you had a brothel like a few blocks down around the corner that I've heard about. I got to do more research on it, but that they used to drop those service guys over there. And then, the piano players would, play that ragtime piano, where you have to play stride. Anyway, so they'd have to play all night. One guy, but by the time he's playing, one arm gets tired. So you start doing the bass, and then you jump over here and then do that and keep it going, then go the other way. So now you got ragtime, and then at Pee Wee's, they would wait for a call, or somebody say, somebody needs a guitar player over at so-and-so, or a bass player. And upstairs at Pee Wee's, they would have all the instruments laying on the floor. And the guys would be downstairs playing pool and gambling and stuff, And now the Monarch Saloon down the way, They had a door, and this is in W.C. Handy's book. They had a door between, here's a saloon. If a fight broke out and somebody got shot and killed, they just take you to the door on the other side, and that was the funeral home over there. So,
Jeez, rough town.
You think I'm making this up?
No, it's a rough town.
Rough town. But anyway, so listen. I know I'm not going to wear you out on this. I have had a ball talking to you, Kitty Big Skinny Paul.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I was just thinking that's probably what happened to all the comedians there too, man. It was like in that little place that didn't make it, that bombed. They would just find themselves at the funeral home or something.
Oh,
all the comedians.
No. I don't know about the comedians. I can just talk about the piano players.
I would be afraid to sing at that place, man. What if you're really bad? Really bad, and things happen.
Well, I'll tell you. You know who Rufus Thomas is, right?
I've heard the name.
Okay, he had a song called "The Dog," and then he had a song called "Walking the Dog." And his daughter's name was Carla Thomas, and she had a song called "Gee Whiz, Look at His Eyes." Anyway, that was in the early 60s. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Rufus Thomas was also on WDIA, and he described it like this. In Memphis, if you're not good, people in Memphis will boo their mama. That's what he said. So in other words, Detroit, they'll clap for you and then they go next, or they'll go out outside and go get some popcorn and wait till you're off the stage. But in Memphis, they will boo you, or at least they used to. But anyway, let's leave on I think that's a cute note, but
Thank you so much for your time today, Ms. Dianne. I appreciate it.
Yes.
I've learned a lot.
I don't know if I answered all your questions, but thank you, everybody. And if you're a fan of Sgt. Pepper's and of Lucy, I appreciate and love you very much. Thank you, Kitty Big Skinny Pope.
Thank you, ma'am.
All righty.
Have a good night.
Till the next time. Bye-bye.
This is Big Skinny, and you've been listening to the PodShack Presents Casual Conversations with Big Skinny. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Hey, we'll see you.